You're logged on to HitzAfrik Radio right here in our studios in Ghana, www.modernghana.com. Kindly pardon us on our technical challenges. That was why we went for a commercial break. Thank you for your patience. Stay tuned as we continue with the news hour. Moving on to our local stories right here in Africa, we have the Sierra Leone country. So let's do some Sierra Leone news. President Bell gets first jab as Sierra Leone rules out coronavirus vaccination. President Julius Maada Bio became the first person to be vaccinated in Sierra Leone as the country rolled out its COVID-19 vaccination program on Monday. President Bio was inoculated at a special ceremony at State House in Freetown alongside the country's Vice President, Dr. Mohamed Judel Jallow, and other top government officials, including cabinet ministers and lawmakers. At the start of the ceremony, President Barrow said he was the first in the country to get the jab so as to encourage citizens to get vaccinated. I cannot ask people to take the vaccine without taking it first, he said. The National Coronavirus Response Center, NACOVERC, said the country received vaccine program. Sierra Leone currently has 296,000 doses of the COVID-19 vaccines, comprising 200,000 doses of the Chinese-made Sinopharm vaccine and 96,000 doses of AstraZeneca Oxford vaccine from the COVAX facility. The NACOVERC said they targeted over to cover 150 people on Monday alone, mainly high-profile politicians. Officials did not disclose which version of the two available vaccines President Bio took. A spokesman for the NACOVA told the East African that information is personal and up to the person receiving the vaccine to decide on whether to disclose the details or not. Harold Thomas, race communication lead at the NACOVA, said personal information is considered to determine which of the two vaccines will be administered to individuals. There have been fears in the public about the safety of the vaccine, especially in Sinopharm jab, and some have suggested that the president and a senior government official take the vaccine first to assure them its safety. Following Monday's vaccine rollout, a grand national luncheon is slated for March 22nd at the Miata Conference Center in Freetown, where officials say the focus will be on healthcare workers as well as people above 60 years of age. Vaccination for the rest of the country will start thereafter. The launch of the vaccination program comes amid dwindling COVID-19 cases in the country. As of March 14, Sierra Leone had recorded 3,937 cumulative confirmed cases of the coronavirus. The West Area Urban, comprising the capital Freetown and its environs, has been the epicenter of the pandemic in the country, accounting for 2,244 cases of the total cases. Let's move on to other countries in Africa. Tanzania. Tanzania's vice president says country is safe and calls for prayers. Tanzania's vice president Samia Suluhu Hassan has urged the country not to be unnerved by rumors flying around, insisting that the country is safe. Speaking at Master Town on Monday, Ms. Hassan said it was not usual for a person to fall sick. It's quite normal for a person's body to be indisposed and contract the flu or develop a fever. This is time for Tanzanians to be united through prayer, she said. Without stating exactly who she was talking about, Ms. Hassan said there were a lot of rumors circulating in the country, adding, however, that they should not unsettle Tanzanians. As Tanzanians, we must work together, be united, and build our nation. Most of the rumors you hear don't originate in Tanzania. They come from outside the country. In all, we should remain united and take Tanzania forward. We are safe, she said. Ms. Suluhu, who is the Tanzania's first female, there have been growing concerns addresses public rallies. And moving on to another country in Africa, Mali. Mali court ends trial of former coup leader Sanogo. The court in Mali's capital, Bamako, on Monday ended a much-delayed trial of former coup leader Amadeo Sanogo, who was accused of killing 21 elite soldiers in 2021 purge. The court, which did not issue a verdict, also ended proceedings against 15 other defendants, citing a 2019 reconciliation law offering amnesty or pardon for specific crimes committed during the 2012 crisis. The court orders that the proceedings against the defendants be terminated, court president Gausao Sanao said, adding that the defendants should be released. Unless the prosecution decides to appeal, the decision puts to rest a case that has a long embarrassed Mali's government. There were fears that a conviction of Sanogo would trigger dissent within army ranks, a former Malian defense minister who was among the defendants. Sanogo, a former army captain, joined with several other plotters in staging on a coup against President Amadou Tchouameni, Tour after an insurgency erupted in northern Mali. But his junta stepped aside under international pressure for exchange of northern cities, including Timbuktu, fell to the rebels. Jihadists have since commanded the northern rebellion and advanced into central Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, killing thousands. Sanogo, for his part, was later arrested and then held for 6 years of charges of killing 21 elite Red Berets who sought to mount a counter-coup. The court's decision not to charge Sanogo will anger rights defects in Mali, where armed forces are often accused of abuses. A law of national accord cannot be invoked to ensure impunity, said Agui Buari, the president of a Million Rights NGO, speaking before the decision. People will not hesitate to commit crimes and honorable, horrible offenses and then fix it by passing a law. A case against Sanogo began in 2016 but stalled. A court then granted Sanogo contemporary release last year, sparking failures among rights defenders and hopes for his conviction then were raised last month when lawyers said that a court would convene to hear the long-delayed case. It began last Thursday before being stopped on Monday. Mali's government itself stopped by army figures who in August launched the most recent coup in the country. Young army officers seized power after weeks of protests against President Ibrahim Boubacar Keita before handing over to him an interim government which is meant for govern for 18 months before staging election. Coup leader Colonel Assimi Goïta is serving as interim vice president, for example. Some senior members of interim government also took part in the 2012 coup. Moving on to our foreign story, stay tuned as we come back very soon. You are listening to HitzAfrik Radio right on your dial www.modernghana.com, as well as on the TuneIn app. You can as well download and listen to HitzAfrik Radio. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media handles. Kindly like, comment, subscribe, and share to our YouTube channel. We are live on YouTube and on Facebook at HitzAfrik Radio. Now let's do some foreign stories. In the United States of America, Biden's top diplomat calls for deeper Japan ties as China, North Korea cast shadow. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken on Tuesday called for deeper economic and security ties with Japan as he and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin seek to use their first trip abroad to strengthen Asian alliance in the face of China's assertiveness. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken attends a virtual business roundtable at the U.S. Their visit to Tokyo and Seoul is the first overseas outing by top cabinet members of President Joe Biden's team and follows a virtual summit last week of the leaders of the United States, Japan, Australia, and India, the Quad Alliance. Issues on the agenda range from freedom to navigation in the South and East China Seas and semiconductor supply chain security, to North Korea, nuclear issue, and the military coup in Myanmar. We really come to reaffirm the fact that the aliens is, as we would like to say, the cornerstone of our peace, security, and prosperity. Blinken said in remarks to U.S. Embassy staff in Tokyo. The economic relationship between the United States and Japan is, as you know very well, one of the strongest in the world, Blinken told a group of Japanese business leaders. He said the pandemic had exposed vulnerabilities in global supply chains for critical products, including medical equipment, supplies, and semiconductors. The countries needed to work together to build secure and resilient supply chains for the future, he said. North Korea is likely to be in sharp focus after the White House said Pyongyang had so far rebuffed efforts from the United States to engage in dialogue. North Korea warned the new U.S. administration against causing a stink if it wants peace. North Korea state media reported on Tuesday. At the opening of the bilateral meeting with Japan and allies on the denuclearization of North Korea. Japanese Defense Minister Nobuo Kishi said at the start of his bilateral meeting with Austin that his visit sent a strong message about the U.S. commitment to this region and robustness of the Japan-U.S. alliance. Kishi said the two will discuss China's movement in the East and South China Seas and specific initiatives that Japan and US should work on to enhance their capabilities to deter and respond. In response, Austin said the alliance was cornerstone in addressing today's and tomorrow's challenges as we work together to uphold and free the open Indo-Pacific. The concept of free and open Indo-Pacific activity in the East and South China Sea. Following bilateral meetings, both Austin and Blinken were due to meet their counterparts for joint session of 2+2 talks and were expected to address some other items raised during the Quad, such as maritime, cyber, and economic security. Analysts also expect Tokyo to seek US support for the upcoming Tokyo Olympics and follow-up talks on other subjects that configured at the Quad summit, such as the commitment to boost COVID-19 vaccine supplies in Asia and climate change. In his remarks to Tokyo-based US diplomat, Blinken said the Summer Games involve planning for several different scenarios and added that whenever and however Team USA ends up competing, it will be because of you. The secretaries were expected to make a courtesy call on Japanese Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga, who is set to visit the White House as the first foreign leader to meet Biden in April. Both officials will leave Tokyo for Seoul on Wednesday and hold talks with counterparts in the South Korean capital until Thursday. From there, Aston will fly to India while Blinken will fly to Alaska, where he will be joined by the National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan for meetings with Chinese counterparts. Reporting by Hemirat Pamuk, Kiyoshi Taki Naka, Junmin Park, Antonio Sladriki, and David Dolan. Edited. Moving on to other stories. Democrats progressive fights California governor recall. Prominent progressives, including Senators Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, are backing a fight against the recall of California Governor Gavin Newsom. In a side, the supporters were stepping up efforts to keep the embattled Democrats in office. Newsom and his backers opened a campaign committee on Monday and began raising funds to oppose the recall, which was started by a small right-wing group but has become a cause celeb among Republicans nationwide and in the heavily Democratic states. I won't be distracted by this partisan Republican recall, but I will fight it, Newsom said on Twitter on Monday. There is too much at stake. Newsom, a former lieutenant governor and San Francisco mayor, was elected governor in 2018 and almost 62% of the votes. He would be up for re-election in 2022. He said $250,000 to the effort. Among supporters are Democrats Warren of Massachusetts and Sanders of Vermont, and independents who caucuses with Democrats. They also include Democratic Senators Cory Booker of New Jersey and Alex Padilla of California and voting rights advocate Stacey Abrams of Georgia. To fight the recall, Newsom has also hired political consultant Joan Frodisby, who served as Vice President Kamala Harris' campaign manager during her bid for the 2020 Democratic presidential nomination, the anti-recall campaign said. Newsom is one of the two Democratic governors under fire and at risk of removal in large, influential U.S. states. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is facing calls to resign and a possible impeachment amid allegations he sexually harassed female employees. Cuomo denies the allegations. The recall effort targeting Newsom began in February 2020, led by a group called the California Patriots Coalition that opposed Newsom's liberal politics. The campaign has picked up steam amid frustration with the state's COVID-19 vaccine rollout, closed schools, and changing public health rules. A poll released on Monday by Emerson College and Nexta Media Group International found that 38% of registered California voters would vote to recall Newsom versus 42% who would vote to keep him in office. Randy Economic, a California Patriots Coalition spokesman, said the group expected to submit about 2 million signatures by a state's deadline on Wednesday. The group needs about 1.5 million verified signatures for its recall to be eligible for the ballot at a time to be set by the state. But thousands are likely to be rejected and as invalid. In California, recalling a governor is a two-step process. Voters decide whether they want to recall the sitting governor and then on the same ballot choose a replacement. The last time Californians recalled their governor was in 2003, where Democrat Gray Davis was replaced by Hollywood star Arnold Schwarzenegger, a Republican. As of Monday in Rescue California, one of the state's campaign finance records shows the total included $185,250 from the California Republican Party and $100,000 from the Political Action Committee for former Arkansas Republican Governor Mike Huckabee. Governor Newsom has ignored the needs of the people of California for too long, said former San Diego Mayor Kevin Falconer, among the Republicans planning to run for governor if a recall vote is held. Republicans make up less than a quarter of registered votes in California. Rafael Sunesia, a publisher, a political scientist at California State University, Los Angeles, said a recall election could be easier for Republicans to win than an ordinary one, but Newsom's opponents will face tougher odds if California life is back to normal by the time an election is held. Timing is everything. New York. Larger-than-life bronze statue of the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg, a liberal stalwart on the U.S. Supreme Court, has been erected in her hometown of Brooklyn, New York. The 7-foot tall, 2 meters, 650 pounds, 300 kilograms statue of the diminutive Ginsburg, which was created by Gilly and Mark, an Australian artist couple, was placed indoors last Friday at a residential and commercial petition for equality, said Erica Roseman, president of marketing firm Concrete Communications, NYC, New York City, a champion of women's rights. Ginsburg served as the Supreme Court from 1993 to her death last September. She grew up in a working-class family in the New York City borough of Brooklyn and would have turned 88 on Monday. Separately, an event was held on Monday to mark the renaming of the Brooklyn Municipal Building as the Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg Municipal Building. Moving on to another country of foreign affairs is India. Britain wants to expand its influence among democratic nations in the Indo-Pacific region while preserving strong ties with the United States, a document laying out the country's post-Brexit foreign policy priorities will say on Tuesday. Boris Johnson holds a news conference in Downing Street on the outcome of the Brexit negotiations in London, Britain, December 24th, 2020. Putting Britain at odds with China, the biggest review of British foreign and defense policy since the end of the Cold War 3 decades ago was set how President Minister Boris Johnson wants to be part of the forefront of the reinvigorated rules-based international order based on cooperation and free trade. Calling the Indo-Pacific increasingly the geopolitical center of the world, the government highlighted a British aircraft carrier deployment to the region and announced a previously postponed visit to India will go ahead in April. Since completing its exit from the European Union at the end of last year, after an acrimonious divorce, Johnson's government has vowed the integrated review will show Britain still had clout on the world stage and define a new era for the country. I am profoundly optimistic about the UK's place in the world and our ability to seize opportunities ahead, Johnson will say in a statement to the Parliament. Britain holds two influential roles this year, hosting the first post-pandemic G7 summit in June and the COP26 climate conference in November. But a 100-page document due to the 11:30 GMT will be closely scrutinized for concrete measures showing how the government will deliver on Johnson's rhetoric at a time when the country is struggling to come to terms with the realities of Brexit and has suffered more deaths than its peers from the COVID-19 pandemic. Relations with China, which is on course to become the world's largest economy, have frayed badly over issues including Beijing's handling of former British colony Hong Kong, increasing local criticism of China's state subsidies, industry, and security concerns around Chinese investment in Britain. The Queen Elizabeth aircraft carrier long-planned deployment is expected to raise military tension in the South China Sea. A statement previewing Tuesday's report lifted the importance of our relationship with the US, alongside the defense of democracy and human rights and safety from terrorism as fundamental components of British policy. Britain is seeking a trade deal with the United States and reassurance over where it sits in presidential Joe Biden's international priorities. Here lies the end of the foreign news. Stay tuned as we bring you the entertainment news this morning. You're still logged on to HitzAfrik Radio right here in the studios. We are transmitting live here in Ghana. You're logged on to www.modernghana.com. We are live on Facebook at HitzAfrik Radio and on YouTube at HitzAfrik Radio. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Now let's do some entertainment news. My body is nobody's business. Mind your business, says Empress Gifty, who is replying to critics. Gospel songstress Gifty Ajaya, popularly called Empress Gifty, has given what she believes is the appropriate reply to critics and curious fans who wants to know the ingredients that have gone into her current body transformation. Gifty Adore messes has become a topical issue on social media after videos of her big buttocks popped up. The singer went viral with her fans and entertainment fanatics, claiming she has undergone buttocks enlargement as they became utterly stunned about the sudden enhancements of Gifty Adore's bodies. On Saturday, the gospel singer put a surprise on the panel of Peace FM's entertainment review. And of course, she didn't leave the studio without becoming the cynosure of all eyes. The question of whether her body is artificially or naturally made was written all over the faces of the studio audience. Responding to the curious minds, Gifty Adore says it's none of anybody's business to know what has done to my body to acquire such curvaceous shape. I am married to an elderly person, so I do what elderly wives do. I owe nobody an explanation. I do what will make me look beautiful, she told the panel. In other stories, the One album will win Ghana its first Grammys. Ghanaian dancehall and reggae artist Jupiter is hopeful that his recently released album, The One, will bring Grammys award honors to Ghana in the near future. His assertion follows the recent big scalp by Nigerian artists Burna Boy and Wizkid at the just ended Grammys, where they won Best Global Music Album and Best Music Video, respectively. According to Jupiter, it is the dream of every musician to win a Grammy, and he had the right team behind him to achieve the set objective. I am very hopeful that the one album will bring Ghana its first Grammy Award because I have a solid team behind me. We are going to push the album to the extreme, and with the right connection, I believe I will get there. And when the time comes, we will celebrate it, he told the GNA Entertainment. Jupiter revealed that talent was not enough if you are to win a Grammy, and you would have to explore a wider music market to get any chance of receiving the top musical accolade. You need to have the right strategy and a great team behind you to win Grammy. As a musician, talent is enough. You get you to the Grammy level. We should not be content with our local fans, but try to explore the global market and get some big collaborations to increase our chances of winning a Grammy, he said. The 20-track One album since its release had dominated various reggae album charts and continues to make waves with artists including Shatta Wale, Star Kodie, Samini, among others featuring and on the project. Moving on to other stories, in Nigeria, they rally round the flag. In Ghana, we wipe the floor with it. Nigerian artists Burna Boy and Wizkid victory at the just ended Grammys has generated a whole conversation bordering on Ghanaian artists and how they can also achieve greater feats like their counterparts in Nigeria. Whereas some have placed the blame of non-appearance of Ghanaians at the Grammys on lack of investment and in creative industry, others have chastised some of the Ghanaian artists for poor lyrical content and poor music projection. In view of this current development, artist manager and entertainment critic Bulldog has also expressed his opinion on the ongoing conversation on the media landscape and social media. In a post cited by SomNikkeiMedia.com, the Maverick artist manager opined that in Nigeria they rally round their flag, but in Ghana we wipe the floor with it. He stated that government won't fund the arts industry, yet when private companies do, the same government will frustrate and shut them down. Bulldog added that until a systematic attempt is made by all, our mentions on the international front remains sporadic. Here lies the end of today's news. Once again, let me give you the recap of now the news headlines. Once again, planting for votes, a Greek minister sets NPP on fire with one delegate. Tokyo Police Command arrested 37 Nigerians over robbery. Prof. Bennett's murder, one suspect freed. Efo Juju textbook, Volta Regional House of Chiefs condemned. Mali courts and trial of former coup leader Sanogo. My body is nobody's business. Mind your business. My name is Abna Ahongpen. Abna Ahinya brought the news to you this morning. Stay tuned for more news and entertainment.